A new page opens every day in the epic written by our Ukrainian armed forces on the battlefield for 10 months. It was thought that the Ukrainian armed forces, which had confined the Russian invaders to the southern and eastern strip, would spend a stagnant 3 months with the harsh weather conditions brought by the winter. With this in mind at least, the invading Russians were trying to regroup with brutal missile attacks on civilian infrastructure. However, the heroic Ukrainian warriors did not give such an opportunity to the occupying forces. Last week, when the Chief of General Staff of Ukraine, Lieutenant General Viktor Muzenko, fired the flare for the total winter offensive, our Ukrainian fighters uncovered and destroyed the Russian soldiers hiding in their lairs on many fronts at once. Today, the victory cries of our glorious Ukraine in the last 24 hours have started to be heard much more clearly with the legendary attacks and sudden raids. As you may remember, the conflicts have been intense in the direction of Bakhmut for a long time, and the Russian invaders carried out small-scale attacks on the Ukrainian armed forces. In the face of these attacks, the response of our Ukrainian warriors has been very harsh. In the last 24 hours, Ukrainian Defense Forces units attacked Novoselivske, Stelmakivka, Novyohorivka, Makivka, Chervonopopivka, and Bilohorivka in Luhansk region, and Verkhnyo-Kamyansky, Soledar, Yakovlivka, Bakhmutska, Bakhmut, Klishchivka, and Kurdyumovka districts of Donetsk region. In these regions, the defense of very valuable strategic regions was successfully carried out. Especially today, Ukrainian tanks launched a ground operation against Russian troops in Novoselivske, and in the fierce battle that took place at noon, our tanks took over Novoselivske by overcoming the invading troops. It has been learned that our armed forces managed to enter the northern outskirts of Novoselivske in order to protect the Svatovo and Kremenaya strategic highway line in Luhansk. Footage from a Ukrainian drone captured every second of the operation. When we take a closer look at the operations carried out in the key areas where conflicts have been intense, we can see more clearly where Ukraine is focusing its power. In the last 24 hours, the Ukrainian Defense Forces struck 9 enemy command posts, as well as 17 manpower collection areas, an artillery group, and 2 ammunition depots. The General Staff also reported that the Defense Forces Air Force carried out 14 attacks on areas where enemy manpower, weapons and military equipment are concentrated, and on air defense positions. Missile and artillery units of the Ukrainian Defense Forces struck 9 enemy command posts, 17 manpower collection areas, an artillery cluster, and 2 ammunition depots. It was launched as the new show of a new day. A flurry of flames launched by the Ukrainian armed forces in Bakhmut, with legendary resistance a week ago, has turned into a major offensive in the last 48 hours, setting fire to all key Russian targets in Mariupol, Berdyansk, Melitopol, and Zaporizhia. Especially here, we carried out the most critical attacks in the last 24 hours in the Melitopol region, because the attacks on Russian targets and supply lines in Melitopol heralded a new ground offensive of the Ukrainian armed forces. In fact, many war analysts thought that the harsh conditions of winter would make a new operation impossible, but Kiev again surpassed all guesses, showing our strength to the whole world. This evening in Melitopol, the bridge connecting the town to the village of Kostiantynivka was subjected to intense attack by the Ukrainian armed forces, causing the Russian shipments to the region to become paralyzed. In the night operation, our HIMARS completely neutralized the bridge and illuminated the pitch black. The attacks on the Kostiantynivka bridge in Melitopol are being presented as the new offensive sign of our Ukrainian armed forces. These interpretations must be understood very accurately, because the Russian invaders, who are trying to amuse themselves in a small area and give good news to the Russian people, will not be able to resist Ukraine's iron fist. War analysts also shared crucial details about the attack on the critical bridge. We can see that these details are simultaneous with our ideas. The message given to us in subtext will be that Ukraine wants to use the Zaporizhia region as a central base in order to make a winter counterattack and attack Melitopol from this direction. If Ukraine, which broke the left arm of Crimea together with the great victories in Kherson, shows a similar success in Melitopol, it will also break the right arm of Crimea and provide absolute dominance to the region. In Melitopol, not only the collapse of the bridge, but also a very serious Ukrainian superiority is emerging. On the 10th and 11th of December, the Ukrainian army struck 3 important objects of the Russian invaders in and near the temporarily captured town of Melitopol in the Zaporizhia region. Dozens of Russian soldiers were killed and at least 200 more injured. It was recorded that a radar station used by the Russians for air defense and air navigation was destroyed. On the other hand, Russia continues to focus its efforts on conducting offensive actions in the Lyman, Bakhmut, Avdiivka, and Zaporizhia directions. In other directions, the invading enemy is trying to restrain the actions of units of the Ukrainian defense forces, bombarding the positions of Ukrainian troops and civilian objects along the entire line of contact, strengthening the engineering equipment of defense lines and positions. But the main target of Russian attacks seem to be the civilian infrastructure. According to the Ukrainian General Staff, Russian forces carried out 7 missile attacks, 5 of which were on the civilian infrastructure of the city of Kostiantynivka in the Donetsk region, and 79 MLRS attacks, in particular on the city of Kherson. When we turn our eyes to Mariupol, our important coastal city, pro-Russian authorities in the region are experiencing serious problems after the Russian occupation in Mariupol. We know that the Russian army took the region with heavy losses. Afterwards, the Russian army lost a lot of momentum, and the Ukrainian partisans in Mariupol are always looking for a new opportunity to make a move against Russia. Public discontent with the Russian occupation authorities in Mariupol could turn into a full-blown revolt due to the lack of heating in homes. Propaganda images no longer work, and problems are piling up as the occupation authorities remain silent. Russian officials are telling the people of the region that Putin will bring a solution for them. However, the situation is very different on the field. Ukrainians in Mariupol ridicule the Russian president, declaring that he is a loser who cannot even save his own soldiers from death. Everyone knows about everything. Now people know that Russia can't afford its own army, and Putin's reputation has been completely destroyed. Until today, we woke up every day with the terrible attacks of the Russian army on Ukraine, which you have been told and tried to engrave in your minds. So where is the decisive victory spoken of by the leader who founded that empire of fear and gave Russia the most shameful period in its history? Above all, the images which show Russian tanks pouring from a Russian shipping train that are reflected in the media today resemble the tears flowing from Putin's eyes. He must be crazy now, because it is an unacceptable fact that his own army committed such a disgraceful act. While the Russian army is burying its own tanks in the ground, additional weapons and ammunition coming from the west to the Ukrainians are causing strong reactions from Putin. Don't be fooled by what we call it. It has been threatening the West like a baby who has dropped a pacifier since the first day of the war, but the West doesn't even pat him on the head. US President Joe Biden pledged his support to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky amid Russian aggression. After the phone call between the two, in a press release published on the website of the White House, it was emphasized that the US support for Ukraine would continue. Biden reiterated the United States' commitment to continue providing security, economic and humanitarian assistance to Ukraine, holding Russia accountable for war crimes and atrocities, and blaming them for their aggression. The White House added that Biden emphasized that the United States prioritizes efforts to strengthen Ukraine's air defenses. With every move, the West continues to shoot aid packages in Putin's face. However, the crying of our cheesy baby may not give him much opportunity to reach the pacifier. Another news on the American agenda is Patriot air defense systems. The arrival of these systems in Ukraine could also take away Putin's only force, considering that Russia's latest attacks are airstrikes. It was noted that after the plans are finalized, Patriot systems are expected to be shipped quickly in the coming days. However, it is not clear how many launches will be sent. Do you realize what a terrible and powerful force we are talking about? This, along with the crappy Shahed 136 sent from Iran to Russia, could spell the end of all Russian airstrikes. Training of Patriot missile batteries normally takes several months. At this point, it is emphasized that the Ukrainians receive this training in the lobby meetings. If you have noticed, while reviewing the updates in general, the victory voice of our Ukraine is starting to be heard louder with each passing minute. This adds to Putin's headaches. There were reports that he cancelled the last Kremlin meeting for this reason. We have bad news for Putin. As long as he does not give up this war, his headaches will only continue to increase. Wait for news from us to get the most accurate and clear information about the latest developments. See you tomorrow.